Level 1. The sailor. You're below deck. The smell hits you before anything else. 400 human beings chained in rows in a space built for cargo. The ceiling is so low you can't stand upright. You're 17. 3 months ago, you were begging for work on the Liverpool docks. A man said he needed crew for a voyage to Africa. 12 shillings a month. You didn't ask what the cargo was. Twice a day, you go below and feed them. Boiled rice and horse beans in a bucket. You pour water into their mouths from a ladle. The ones who won't eat, you force. Captain's orders. Everybody that dies is money lost. When they die, you drag them up the stairs and throw them overboard. You've done it 14 times since you left the Gold Coast. Nobody counts. The sea takes everything. You make less than the cook. You sleep in a hammock that stinks of sweat and tar. When the voyage ends, the captain docks your pay for equipment you never asked for. You leave with almost nothing. But you watched. You saw who gets paid and who doesn't. The men who count the cargo make 10 times what you make. You sign on for the next voyage before the ship even docks. Level 2. The factor. You're 26. 9 voyages. You know the African coast better than most officers. The Royal African Company posts you at a trading fort in Elmina. Your title is factor. That means buyer. Local chiefs bring you people. Prisoners of war. Debtors. Villagers taken in raids. You inspect them like cattle. Teeth. Eyes. Muscle tone. You reject the sick and the old. A healthy male between 15 and 25 is worth the most. You pay in guns, textiles, iron bars, and rum. One man costs 8 muskets. One woman costs 6. You write it all down in a ledger. Neat columns, neat numbers. Before they enter the dungeons, you brand them. A hot iron pressed into the chest or shoulder. The company's mark. It means they've been paid for. It means they're inventory now. You hold them in dungeons beneath the fort. Stone rooms, no windows. The heat underground is suffocating. They stay for weeks, sometimes months, waiting for a ship. You hear them through the floor of your office while you eat dinner. You stop hearing them after the first year. You lose about 15% before they even board. Disease, starvation, despair. You adjust your pricing to cover the losses. You make £40 a year plus commission on every head that boards alive. The commission is where the real money is. You stop seeing them as people your first month. You had to. Otherwise, the math doesn't work. Level 3. The captain. You're 34. You have your own command. A slave ship. 30 crew, 450 captives. A vessel designed to carry as many bodies as physically possible. The Middle Passage. West Africa to the Caribbean. 6 to 8 weeks if the winds are good. 12 if they're not. Captives are shackled in pairs. Right ankle to left ankle. They lie on wooden platforms stacked 18 inches apart. No room to sit up. They eat, sleep, bleed, and die in that position. Once a day you bring them on deck for exercise. They dance in their chains while your crew plays a drum. The officers call it dancing. It keeps the muscles from deteriorating. Deteriorated muscles lower the sale price. You earn £5 per month plus commission on every captive delivered alive. That's the number that runs your life. Delivered alive. You lose 15 to 20% on every crossing. Dysentery, smallpox, suicide. Some throw themselves overboard. You install nets along the hull to catch them. A dead captive is a dead investment, but the ship is insured. The captives are listed on the policy the same way the timber and the rum are. Property. If enough die on a crossing, you can file a claim and recover the loss. You've made this crossing 4 times as captain now. You own a house in Bristol. Your wife doesn't ask about your work. Your children think you're a merchant. They're not wrong. You just don't tell them what you sell. Level 4. The auctioneer. You're 41. Your knees ache. Your lungs are shot from years below deck. You step off a ship for the last time. But you have connections on both sides of the Atlantic, and you know the value of cargo better than anyone in the colonies. You settle in Charleston. You become the man who runs the sales. Before each auction, you prepare the captives. You shave them, oil their skin so it looks healthy, plug wounds with tar so buyers don't see the damage. You force them to move, stretch, jump, demonstrate fitness on command. You separate mothers from children. They sell for more individually. The auction is in a public square. Planters come from across the colony. You describe each lot. Male, approximately 20 years, good teeth, strong build. You start the bidding. A field hand sells for 30 to 50 pounds. A skilled worker, a blacksmith or carpenter, sells for 80. A young woman of childbearing age sells for a premium. Her children will be property too. You take 10% of every sale. On a ship of 350 survivors, your cut is enormous. You are the most popular man in the colony on auction day. Everyone wants to buy you a drink. You accept everyone. Level 5, the planter. You're 48. 600 acres of sugar in Jamaica. 200 enslaved people work your fields. You bought every single one of them. Some pass through your hands twice. Once on the auction block, once on the deed of sale. You know their price down to the shilling. You never learned their names. You don't hold the whip. That's what overseers are for. You manage the numbers. Harvest runs 16 hours a day in heat that kills Europeans in weeks. The enslaved workers last longer, but not long enough. The average life expectancy on a sugar plantation is 7 years after arrival. 7. You don't think about that in human terms. You think about it in replacement cost. A new field hand costs 40 pounds. You need about 20 replacements a year. That's 800 pounds. You write it into the budget like you'd write in seed or lumber. You order more from the factor on the coast. The same job you used to do. Raw materials in, product out. The raw materials are people. You've known that since you were 17. It doesn't bother you anymore. It can't. Your plantation produces 12,000 pounds a year. A doctor in London makes 200. You make more in a month than most Englishmen make in a decade. You build a house in London. You sit in Parliament. You vote against abolition. Not because you enjoy what you built, because abolition would cost you everything you have. That's the only math that matters. Level 6, the company man. You're 58. You don't go to Jamaica anymore. You don't need to. 3 plantations, 600 enslaved people generating your income. You've never met most of them. You sit in a boardroom in London, reviewing quarterly returns for the shipping company you now part own. You have a royal charter signed by the king, granting a monopoly on the trade of human beings along the African coast. Between 1500 and 1900, 12.5 million Africans were loaded onto ships. 10.7 million survived the crossing. The difference, 1.8 million, dead at sea. Those are your numbers, your losses, your cost of doing business. You build banks with the profits, fund insurance companies, endow hospitals that carry your name, donate to churches that preach about salvation on Sundays. History will remember you as a philanthropist. The money that built it all came from bodies in a ship, the same ship you mopped the deck of when you were 17. When abolition finally comes, the British government pays slave owners £20 million in compensation. That's 40% of the entire national budget. The enslaved people receive nothing. The debt from that payout isn't fully repaid until 2015. British taxpayers, including descendants of the people you sold, were paying off the debt owed to men like you until 9 years ago. But the ledger never closed. The ships stop sailing. The auctions close. The chains come off. But the money never went back. The wealth built on 400 years of human trafficking is still sitting in banks, still carved into the names above hospital doors and university gates. The system ended. The profits didn't. And somewhere in an archive in London, there's a ledger with your handwriting in it. Neat columns. Prices next to descriptions of human beings. It reads like an accounting spreadsheet. Because that's exactly what it was.